What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? First Seed Sports here. Fellas, we're at the end of the NFL season. Quite frankly, I gotta say I'm missing it already. I mean, we're 4 days, 5 days removed at this point, and it just there's a hole in my heart right now. What's going on with you guys?
How could you not miss it, especially how it ended with just the
Yeah.
several weeks of fantastic games?
hmm As soon as my team got knocked out, I was already looking to do mock drafts, as were you, Zach. Apparently,
Yeah, no, I was on Fantasy Football Calculator yesterday, and I was Jones, and I was scrolling through. I was looking for looking for the next draft that I could do, and I mean, being the resident baseball fan of the group too. I mean, with the lockout going on right now, it's just my sports life is sad right now. That's about all I can say. But we're actually so today for our video, we're gonna walk through some of the highs and lows of the 2021 NFL season, 22 NFL season, I guess I should say. And we're gonna start out with some of the league leaders. So I think Kyle has queued up some of the leaders for us here.
Yes, let me get these bad boys showing.
the leaders.
This is how the 2021-2022 season panned out in terms of our rushing, passing, receiving leaders.
I think the obvious first question is let's talk about any surprises here. Who kind of surprised you out of these 15 guys that we see here?
Oh man, my first one is Derek Carr. Just to see him on that list with those guys is funny in general. But you look at being the Homer Cowboy fan I am, what Dak did 2 years ago before his injury, and how I thought this past year was going to go because of that average of like 330 yards a game, whatever it was. And he's not on this list is surprising to me. So like Derek Carr is the first name that kind of pops out at me.
I think it was like a weird year for the Cowboys, honestly, just because like they couldn't ever figure out what their bread and butter was. Like they couldn't figure out whether they wanted to feed the ball to CD, feed the ball to Cooper, whether they wanted to give Zeke the rock or even I mean there was so much usage of Tony Pollard too. Like it was just
Right.
weird. They almost spread the love too much a little bit, I think. And I think that what we saw with some of the really successful teams was like they knew it worked and they went with it. But they had that second option and that third option as well. So
Right.
I definitely agree with you. Like I'm surprised Prescott's not on here. But at the same time, I think it's kind of I don't want to say easy, but it's evident to see kind of where he fell down, where he fell off, I should say, where he was trying to target so many people.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you look at the Super Bowl, like those are two teams that, regardless of the game script, they got their ball to their guys. Jamar Chase touched the football,
Yeah.
not on the last play of the game, sadly, which he would have.
Yeah.
But like the teams got their guys the football. T. Higgins, monster day. Joe Mixon had some decent touches here and there. Well, that was another issue with the whole him not being in on third down and stuff like that. But two teams that got it, So yeah, I don't know. Any other surprises from you guys?
Well, I see two big ones for me, and that's Cooper Kupp being at the top of the receiving yards list with almost 2,000 yards.
Yeah.
If he had like 1,300, I wouldn't have been surprised with the new QB. I mean, it wouldn't have been that surprising because Stafford knows how to air it out. But for close to 2,000 yards from Cooper Kupp, probably what I was close to expecting from Robert Woods. But no, the dominant year from him was definitely not what I was expecting.
Kyle, let me butt in.
Surprise. Go for it.
Let me ask you this question: Is if Robert Woods was there full season, what does Cooper Kupp's season look like? Do you think?
Let's see. He finished with 1947. He probably would have finished with 1930. I think because Cooper Kupp was dominating when Woods was there the whole time.
Right.
I think if anything, it would have opened up Kupp for probably more.
I think the better question would have been, what would it have done to Odell's receiving?
I don't think Odell would have gone there. Well, I mean, he did before.
But I think he did, right?
It was like the same week. That's right.
Yeah, that is kind of nuts.
Odell signed on like a Tuesday, and then Woods tore his ACL on like Thursday of that week. Like it was just bizarre.
Right. Oh,
yeah.
It almost makes you wonder if it happened and they knew and they reached out to Odell, and you know what I mean? Like
they went a little bit more all in on OBJ instead of
right.
like maybe they didn't disclose right away. I mean, that would be the logical answer.
Yeah, because who tears an ACL in practice? Plenty of people, but at the same time.
And nonetheless, in like week 9 or 10 or whenever he went down, it was late in the season. And a lot of times those guys are just kind of on autopilot at practice.
Especially those veterans.
Yeah.
It definitely proved to be the missing piece, though. Props to them. They filled the gap pretty quickly, got right back on that Super Bowl track. Because, I mean, if you leave Cooper Kupp by himself the whole year, I don't think that they have the success they did. I mean, we saw that in the Super Bowl a little bit as well.
Right. Yeah. That was going to be my point. Like, they couldn't figure out who they wanted to go to. They had Skoranek in there. They had, what is it, Zylstra? Is that the other guy that they have? Like, they were just trying. Van Jefferson
wasn't Blanton, that's for sure.
It wasn't Kendall Blanton. I think kudos to the Rams for believing in Odell and thinking that he was still the elite level player that he was, because wow, like I would argue he probably helped carry them to the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
He was fantastic. But looking at this list, I think what stands out to me, I'm going to talk about the 2 rookies, I guess, just because of what they did against the odds. Like, all you heard coming into the season was, and Najee Harris isn't going to succeed. He has a shitty line. Excuse my French. He has a crappy line. He just nothing was stacked in his favor. Big Ben was getting old. There weren't enough receivers to spread the field. Like, there was so many negative comments against Najee, and to see him here at 1,200 rushing yards, really only 59 yards behind being second place on this list is incredible. And same with Jamar Chase. Like, there's that meme that goes around on Twitter of the stick figure Joe Burrow throwing to Jamar Chase, and it says, with Penei Sewell in front of him and blah blah blah. But like, the odds were stacked against Chase too. They said Burrow wasn't going to have enough time to throw to him. Well, I have 1,455 reasons to say otherwise on that one. So I think that the rookies are really kind of what stands out to me on these 2 lists here. And shout out my guy Justin Herbert for slinging the ball. Like, that's what a hell of a year for him.
Right.
I think I'll note on Najee. I'm a little less surprised to see him atop the top 5, mostly because I think going into the season it was expected that he was going to get volume. He probably had some of the most guaranteed volume of most running backs. Because unlike the Chiefs, they drafted a running back in the first round to use a running back like they drafted him in the first round. So I think I was kind of expecting, I mean, the yardage, it's incredible, but he also touched the ball, I think, the most out of anybody in the NFL. But I mean, Jamar, that was an incredible surprise. I mean, the talent was there. Everything was there. I think the one thing that really held me off from Jamar was also having T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. But, I mean, he stepped right in, and knowing Burrow previously, I mean, just threw to him and knew how to throw to him. And it was beautiful.
Right.
I think if there's one thing that I would love to one thing that I would love to make my dent in the fantasy world or in the NFL football world, like, I think we need to stop doubting college talent. Like, when coming out of the draft, like, you see it happen. there's the Chase graphic. But like, with the college talent, like, talking about Jamar Chase especially, like, you see this guy ball out in college. Like, he is incredible. And like, you make up so many excuses on why he's not going to succeed in the NFL. It's that whole draft thing where you're looking for any reason. And it's just like, I know, Homer, I'm coming in as the Homer here. I went to Pitt, Kenny Pickett. It's the same thing with him right now. Like, he had a hell of a season, and they're trying, it seems like people are trying to find reasons why he's not going to succeed. Like, I feel like at some point we have to trust the talent.
Right. And some teams actually have no choice but to trust the talent coming out too, which is
Right.
usually that's how you get your better narratives. The guys, they always say like you want to draft guys, especially quarterbacks, let them sit for a few years, marinate, and then there's some that don't get that choice, and
Right.
it's such a huge difference. But like you said, like some teams do, some teams trust them. Like obviously they trusted Jamar Chase all season. Didn't care about the preseason narrative, didn't care about any of that, and it worked out, you know?
Absolutely.
And then going back to Najee as well, Najee kind of had a rookie year like Zeke in a way with the amount of volume he saw. I think Zeke had 322 touches his rookie year, and Najee had 307, which led the league last year. So very, very similar. I'm just scared that they might run him into the ground, man. I'm having PTSD from Zeke all those years, like seeing how we gave him, I think it wasn't back-to-back, but I think he had 300 touch seasons with us very early in his career. And it's like, damn, like you literally can see like the gas running out of Zeke. And it's sad to say, but I know just coming in, Zeke and Najee were in similar like spots. Like their teams weren't the greatest. They had decent weapons around them that helped them out, but mainly the offense was going through the run game, and that's what it happened to be. But I'm excited to see a brand new Najee with a new quarterback next year. I want to see how that offense works, see what's going on in Pittsburgh.
I think there's still even room for Najee to become a better receiver too, or not a better receiver, but a more productive receiver. I don't have his stats immediately in front of me. I need a second to pull him up here, but like I don't know. It felt like honestly that they ran the ball with him, but they didn't really utilize him for what he was like so sought after coming out of the draft for. He was an incredible pass catching back as well. So I don't know. I look for him to honestly improve with a new quarterback and with hopefully a more developed offensive scheme next year.
Yeah.
All right. Any last thoughts? Any last takeaways? Kyle, looks like you're gonna say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say the other name on here that was quite a surprise, Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, 100%.
I think going into this past season, we all expected Brandon Ayuk to be the guy. And it was quite the opposite as Deebo came back looking incredible and being used in a way that we have rarely seen. What do you call himself? A wide back?
Yeah.
It's a good word for it.
But being used as that wide back position where he is the running back or wide receiver on any given play. And it worked. I think he had an incredible season, and I think truly he's going to build on that going into next year. Yeah. And I know Kyle Shanahan is just building up 20 more variations of the same play just to have Deebo run another 40-yard touchdown. And so I think that's another beautiful thing that came out of the season, especially with these 15 guys listed here.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
I was going to say, excluding the quarterbacks here, I don't think out of the 10 running backs or receivers on here in total that any of them make it past the second round in fantasy drafts next year. Like maybe sneak into the third, but these are the guys that are going to be up there. Yeah. And it's interesting to see like how are they going to mix in when you get McCaffrey back and you have a full season of Derrick Henry. Like it's going to be so cool to see next year. I'm so excited already.
Well, you know what? That's actually the perfect segue. Why don't we hop on over to our next slide here, Kyle? Let's talk about this year's fantasy leaders, and we can talk about kind of where we expect some of these guys to go in drafts and things like that next year. I think that from that last slide, I think the only one, like Mike alluded to, that might end up falling into that second, third round territory were actually two of the running backs. And I think that might be Nick Chubb and actually, believe it or not, Dalvin Cook. And I think that that's just because of the injury risk that's built into them at this point, you know? But like the guys that you see here at the top, Jonathan Taylor is a bona fide workhorse. Austin Eckler proved himself to be a workhorse this year, especially with the receiving work. Even Joe Mixon, like people had their doubts about Joe Mixon over and over and over again, but like this was that year that I think he solidified himself.
This was the year
as
everybody was waiting for.
Right. This was what people expected of Joe Mixon for the first 4 years of his career, or whatever number we're on now. So I think realistically, of those top 4 running backs there, top 5 running backs that we can see on the board, I think the only one that doesn't go in the first round is Leonard Fournette.
Oh, yeah. And I
Makes
think
sense.
that is widely due to where he's going to be next year. Is he a free agent?
Let me find that for you right now.
Because I believe he is, but if not, I honestly don't expect him to be a Buccaneer. Mostly because I think he wants to be somewhere else. As much as he loves being playoff Lenny, I think without Tom Brady there, he wants to continue to be playoff Lenny.
Yeah, I feel like that may be the case for a bunch of those Buccaneers weapons that now that Brady's gone, I don't know if they're trying to stick around. Who actually knows? But, I mean, I don't know. You look at a young Leonard Fournette, he could still go out there and get a 4 or 5 year contract if he wanted to.
He is actually – sorry, this was his last year of his contract. He is an unrestricted free agent going into 2022.
Makes sense, man. I mean,
He'll find himself in New England.
Yeah, right.
For
his LeGarrette Blount renaissance.
Oh
man.
I don't know. I think New England
would be a great fit.
I agree. I think they have what they're going to roll with, though. I think they have a good thing going. And Harris, Stevenson, and Bolden. They really do. Let's talk about the tight ends. I think that's the most intriguing group of these 4 here. What order would you draft these 5 guys in?
Probably the order that they're in.
Really?
I mean, Kelsey's a guaranteed guy, so that's the only one I'm caught up on. But I feel like Andrews really showed it this year, and I think Jackson stepping forward with the passing, I think that's going to be something I chase after this year.
I feel very good about Mark Andrews, tight end 1.
I agree. But I mean, Kyle Pitts had 1 touchdown this year, and the only reason he's at 5th is because he played all year. Everybody else was behind him.
That has to positively regress, though. He has to climb up on the touchdown ladder.
I agree, but you could say the same thing kind of about Dalton Schultz. He could probably be – I could picture Dallas taking they should take a step forward. They feel like they were playing at like 75% of their what they could be playing at. And I know Mike agrees with me. So if you get Dak playing at full, hopefully at full 100%, Dalton Schultz could have that top 5, top 3 tight end season.
Right. And Dallas's genius front office, went ahead and paid Blake Jarwin a lot more money than Schultz. And now they're thinking about maybe cutting him. And I think that would be the option there. I mean, you look at what Schultz did this year. The only area that Schultz really does hurt a little bit is the blocking, the run blocking.
Yeah,
he's always struggled. It's always been an issue trying to put him up against those bigger defensive ends. So that may be something that Dallas looks into. I know Mo Alley Cox is a free agent. There's been some rumors about him. Anybody to complement Schultz, though, would be great. I think Schultz could easily stay in that top 5.
Well, Schultz is a free agent this year.
That is another thing, yeah. Yep, and he's going to be asking for money. So I know that it won't be more than what we're giving Jarwin, though. So hopefully we can work something out. I know Dallas has a lot of moves to make there, but yeah, in terms of the order of tight ends, man, it's just like I get what happened this year. I personally, as you guys know, took Kelsey in the first round this year, playing it extra safe.
Don't blame you.
Yeah, and it worked out for the most part. He didn't have the greatest season. I think this is the first year in the past 8 or 9 he wasn't number 1, whatever it was. But it's like, oh, man, like it just feels so weird to think like, okay, I actually took Kelsey last year in the first round, But like if I'm going off these numbers, I'd be doing that with Mark Andrews, and then that doesn't sit well with me. Just saying it out loud just doesn't sit well, but it makes sense. And if Mark Andrews isn't taken ahead of Kelsey, he better be taken right after him, because at this point, from a health standpoint and a production standpoint, those are the two guys. You can make the case for Kittle, but I don't think he's had a full season since he's been in the league. So those are your guys. Those are your 1 and 2. The rest kind of, you never know. Like I'd have to dig a little bit deeper there, but the top 2, definitely Andrews and Kelsey. I just know that probably this year, for the first time ever, I personally won't be drafting either one in the first round. Not anymore.
Yeah. Now, a bit of trivia for you guys.
Go ahead.
So if I extend, so these are the leaders from weeks 1 through 17, the fantasy regular season. If I add week 18, somebody else jumps Kyle Pitts into the top 5.
I know who it is. It's got to be Dawson Knox.
Mike, do you have a guess?
You're saying your top 5 tight end that's sneaking in?
No. So this past season, fantasy scorers. If these top 5 are from weeks 1 through 17.
Okay.
If I add week 18, somebody else jumps Kyle Pitts and becomes tight end 5 on the season. Who do you think scored more than Kyle Pitts?
I'm stumped.
Zach Ertz.
Get out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Zach
Ertz, he was basically non-existent for the first half of the year, dealing with Goddard. Yeah. Wow.
Dawson Knox finished as tight end 11.
Wow.
He had a slow start.
Yeah. And not only that, he missed the middle part of the season with I think it was a hand injury, I think.
Yeah, like a thumb injury.
Yeah. A long story short with the tight ends, I think the tight end is just such a crapshoot that you have to either spend big or you just kind of got to wait it out and see what you end up with. I mean, some people played I think Mike might have actually been one of those people, played the Jonnu Smith game this year, and if that panned out, it would have been a steal, Another guy like that I know is Mike Gosicki. He looked good early in the season, and then he kind of faltered as the season went on. There's a handful of them, but like if you're not spending up on Andrews, Kelsey, and honestly, I'm going to keep Pitts in that category too, because I think he's one of the more consistent scorers. I think then you just kind of got to wait on tight end, honestly.
Yeah. 100%. That's what I'll probably do. I'll take that strategy to the grave from now on, unless there's someone else that comes along and shows me something I'm liking there. I mean, I kind of thought that Kyle Pitts was in that early tight end category last year. I had him, I think, preseason ranked 3, tight end 3, tight end 4. So, and he obviously didn't live up to what we all thought he was going to be, but that could have also been on our end as well, kind of overhyping him with bum boy Matt Ryan over there, expecting too much. So,
here's another question for you guys. So you guys can both contemplate this. Knowing what you know now, would you have gone back and drafted a quarterback early of these 5?
Now, if it were Josh Allen, yeah, I would have loved to.
I was going to say, to remind you, I believe Allen and Mahomes went in the 2nd, 3rd round range, and Herbert was a 7th-ish rounder, and I believe Brady was about the 10th round, and Burrow was basically close to undrafted.
Yep, it's nuts, man. The quarterbacks are the tricky ones. I think tight ends, for the most part, my mind won't change on. You either get a good one or you wait. Quarterbacks, I feel a little bit indifferent on. In our personal draft, PPR draft, single QB, I think Josh Allen leaked into the 5th round, and I wanted him so bad in the 5th round. Ended up getting taken one spot before me. I was so mad about it. And the next guy on my list, I believe, was Dak at the time. And I think Dak went shortly after. But, I mean, you get guys like that every year now. Quarterbacks seem to sneak. There's always one or two that sneak late into the rounds, and someone ends up with a gem. And this year, I think it was 100% Tom Brady for where he was being drafted. Honestly, any of them. Burrow was, Herbert was, and now it's like those five guys, minus Brady, obviously, I think don't leave the sixth round, possibly. Like, I don't know. I've always been a late QB guy. I tried it last year with Tannehill. Didn't work out. That was a huge, huge miss compared to what he did the season before, which makes no sense. But yeah, it's like a you got to get lucky kind of thing. You're going to have to either go early for a quarterback and it could hurt you, like everybody that kind of drafted Lamar this year for the most part, just with the injury, really. But like talent-wise, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Can you guys think of any examples of quarterbacks that got drafted way too early from a bunch of hype and kind of didn't live up to that?
Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I was a guy that took Kyler. And I wanted to talk about my strategy with that. I took him based on the fact that I also took Hopkins. So like that kind of bumped him up on my priority list because like I knew it was one of those tandems where like the quarterback strictly throws to that wide receiver, and of course that didn't pan out this season. But like I'm probably going to try it again next year, full disclosure. Like I think that's a fantastic strategy. Like if you can land that Rodgers and Adams combo or that like Brady and Evans combo or Godwin, like it's such a cheat code in fantasy because you're getting double points for everything that happens. But
it really is. Yep.
But I mean, I'm not upset about Murray. I was still able to win the chip, yes sir, with Kyler Murray. And he was average. He got me 20 points a game, and that obviously wasn't what I paid for in the fourth or fifth round when I got him. But he didn't lose me my season. I was okay with that. So I mean, I'm all right with it.
So I can sit here and cherry pick all these players, but I'm looking at guys who went around the QB1 in drafts, Patrick Mahomes, and players around him were DeAndre Hopkins, Antonio Gibson, Calvin Ridley, and DK Metcalf. Those are the four players that surround him. And then Josh Allen, it's Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, David Montgomery, and then Allen Robinson, Chris Carson.
Wow. I mean, out of all those 8 names you just said, aside from the quarterbacks, Montgomery is the only one I would have been upset with missing, honestly.
Yeah.
And maybe Keenan Allen. I had Keenan Allen. He was
Keenan
very solid for me this year.
You know what you're getting when you draft Keenan.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. All right. I mean, we don't have to beat a dead horse here with the fantasy leaders. It was an interesting fantasy season, I think, more so than some of the last ones, because like I really, really feel like I know that there's the whole saying you win your league in free agency, but like I really feel like this year more than any, you won it with those late round guys that you took a flyer on. Like, like I'm looking at the names here: Leonard Fournette, or Joe Burrow, or Deebo Samuel, or Jamar Chase, or Dalton Schultz. Like, I mean, that's basically like 20% of our top 20 guys here, that you could get late in the draft. So I think that just goes to show, if you have a guy that you believe in, like take that shot on him.
That's what fantasy is all about, man. Take your guys, and every season ends, and every fantasy player known to man always has that one guy that they're like, you know what, next year I'm not leaving my drafts without him. And to be honest, full disclosure, since Zach is dropping a little bit of knowledge on us about his insight into next year, I will not leave our home draft without Justin Herbert. It will not happen next year. I'm going to get him. If I have to reach, I have to reach. It's been said, hammer it in. But I'm not leaving a draft without him. If I don't get him in the league I want, I will draft him in other places. So
I'm going to show up in a Herbert jersey, Mike. I'm going to show up in a Herbert jersey just to scare the hell out of you.
Oh, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
I think I don't really know that I have, as I do research and I figure out where I'm at for next season. I think I definitely will develop one of those guys. I don't know if I have one right now off the bat. I think the closest thing probably to it is probably Justin Jefferson for me. Like, holy crap, that guy is consistent. Like even on a bad week for him, he's still going to get you 10 points, 5 catches for 50 some yards. And like, that is just amazing. Like I worry to think that Cooper Kupp can put up an identical season to what he did this year. Like, I think that there's going to be some regression, obviously one of the best receiver seasons of all time. But I think what Justin Jefferson does is just so consistent, like Larry Fitzgerald-esque, you know what I mean? Like that, just
Right.
that pinnacle of consistency. So I would say that he's my guy. I guess, Kyle, I'm going to throw you on the spot. Do you have a guy like that?
Ooh, I was going to say I can't wait until the reports, because all last season it was how everybody after a 2,000-yard rushing season did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Derrick Henry went on to almost do that before he got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't wait to find out what people do after their 1,900-yard receiving season, and then see Cooper Kupp continue to do that. But this is when you listen in, like, my guy so far, that I probably won't leave any of my drafts in, will most likely be, oh my God, why was he drafted so late last year?
Trenton Cannon.
T. Higgins.
That's a good one.
I think what we saw from him this postseason, and towards the end of the season, this past season, being a number 2 to Jamar is not that bad. And so in most cases, not most, but in a good chunk of cases, he was the number 1. And if everybody's covering Jamar, it leaves T. Higgins open, and he's going to flourish. But so far, that's probably my guy next year.
I like that a ton. Last question for you guys. Last fantasy question, and then before we go into our futures. Let's say you have pick number 12 in your fantasy PPR draft. Okay, the first round has gone. You've seen guys like you saw Jonathan Taylor go 101. You saw Eckler go 102. You saw all these guys come off the board. Najee's gone. Mixon's gone. The first 4 receivers there are gone. Throwing a tight end. You get to your pick 12, and Derrick Henry is on the board, and Christian McCaffrey is still on the board. Do you take the 2 of them back to back at 112 and 201?
Absolutely.
You have to.
Even with the built-in injury risk?
So I hate to break it to you, Zach, but I think McCaffrey is going to be going 102 next year.
You think so? You think he's going to go that high?
If not 101.
Okay.
As far as I can tell, that is the big debate on if
Okay.
McCaffrey is 101. And if that's being debated, I think it's going to be happening. But if I'm at pick 12 and I see those two guys I would happily take in the first round next year, no doubt, I'll take them both.
Oh, definitely.
One of them's bound to play the whole season.
Yeah. And I personally was going to say I would never let McCaffrey go past the second pick as well. So even with the injury risk, Henry, same situation, really. I probably wouldn't let him slide past 4 or 5, if that.
It's funny, like being the resident Panthers fan here, I don't know if I would take Christian McCaffrey in the top 6 picks. I just don't. I think he has, like, if you've drafted Christian McCaffrey in the last 2 years, you have not had a shot to win your fantasy league, unless you happen to get lucky and snag or trade or get someone that slid to you. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know if I can buy into that injury risk that he carries at this point. I know they've been weird injuries. Like, I think they've both been ankles both years, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, he's
that usage.
He's just a guy, man. It is too. Yeah, it definitely adds up, because you're talking about McCaffrey, who has never in his life, through Pee-wee football all the way through his NFL years, ever missed a game due to an injury. And then literally 2 years ago, misses all that time. And then last year, like the first 2 injuries of his life that weren't even anything to have surgery on, kept him out. So like, or at least not this year. I don't believe. I don't think it was anything too serious, but It's crazy. In my mind, it could happen to anybody. I kind of just like try to guess based off the guy's character. Where is the guy's head at? Where is he going? And that's almost impossible to tell other than what you get from social media. So, I mean, that's the most important thing, I think, is the guy working. Does he really want it? The injury prone stuff, it scares me. But if I was drafting with that in mind, I feel like every draft I would just be so scared of everything. Anybody that's had this or that, I'd just be guessing at that point. And to me, I'm going to take my guys. I'm going to take my guys while they're on the field are fantastic, and try to get them at a discount if you can,
Yeah, drafting injury afraid would have kept you from having Joe Mixon, probably Austin Eckler, Deebo Samuel.
Yep.
Yeah, now that you guys say it, it does make sense. But I still think that I think going into next year, there's going to be more of a certainty of Henry being less injured than McCaffrey, if that makes sense.
I still can't believe that man came back for the playoffs.
I can't either. And that just goes to tell you what kind of different breed he is. It really does. All right. Are we good to put a cap on fantasy for tonight?
We are.
Of course. We'll come back to it in a couple weeks.
We'll be here plenty of time.
After we get some new news. But why don't we hop on over to our next slide here, Kyle? These are actually, we're kind of looking at betting. We're kind of looking at next year. So these are our 6 MVP favorites. You can see here that obviously Pat Mahomes and Rodgers are tied as the favorites to win MVP next year. I'm sure that will change if some things happen with Aaron Rodgers. I've seen a lot of positive news coming out of Green Bay recently. I'm not sure if they're stirring up the positive news or if they're just on the hopeful train. But you can see Josh Allen, Burrow, Herbert, and Stafford round out the top 6 favorites here. So of this list of 6, or if there's someone else, I guess, that you guys would like to bring into the conversation, who do you think is the favorite to win MVP?
Josh Allen.
I
think it has to be Allen too. I'm with you. I really do.
Yeah. I can't even disagree. Allen was my MVP preseason vote this year, and he'll probably be the same for me next year. It's unbelievable. The only thing that changed with Josh Allen realistically between the past 2 years is Stephon Diggs kind of took a little bit of a backseat numbers-wise, but Josh Allen's numbers didn't get affected. And
I think that just benefited Josh more because then he wasn't relying on one single guy. Right. But exactly. I think, truthfully, it was detrimental to Josh that the other receivers were Cole Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders. I asked Zach earlier in the postseason, I think it was a wild card, if Gabriel Davis and Isaiah McKenzie are better than Cole Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders. And truthfully, I personally think they are. And if it were up to me, if I were the Bills GM, those would be my 2 and 3 receiver right there.
100%.
But that's not stopping them from bringing in, I don't know, someone better. I don't know who's Chris Godwin. But just somebody.
Mike Williams.
Yeah, just somebody.
Oh, man.
Somebody else to complement Diggs that's not 35. But if they do that, then I think Josh becomes. I mean, he's already my favorite, but if that happens, and I don't see why they wouldn't, because that's the only thing they could do to benefit this offense. Maybe add a running game, Leonard Fournette. But that would. Oh, I'm just dreaming of it now. But that's my favorite.
Yeah, you give. Oh, I as soon as you said Mike Williams, I was thinking about Mike Williams just going up for a Josh Allen bomb, and that just
he doesn't even have to fight for it.
No, he doesn't. Josh is just going to launch it, and Mike Williams will do the rest. He'll probably have a spectacular catch, fall down, and hurt himself. I swear Mike Williams' injuries are self-inflicted because he just comes off the ground so high that when he catches the ball, he just gets hurt.
Yeah. I think of this list personally, my favorite is Justin Herbert, but it's a little contingent on something. It's contingent on them either re-signing Mike Williams or signing another free agent wide receiver. I think that if they just go ahead and go with the idea that Keenan Allen and Jalen Guyton and Josh Palmer are enough, I think it's going to bite them really badly because I don't think those guys are enough. Like they're all good, but I don't think any of them are great anymore. I think like we keep throwing his name around, but I think Chris Godwin would just make this offense insane. And I think Godwin would have like 120 targets or receptions next year if they added him to this offense. And I think it would just what's that?
Imagine, I'm sorry, Josh Allen with Juju Smith-Schuster. Oh,
that would be a nice addition.
I think that'd be like the perfect, because I mean he's a complimented guy. So
I think he would be
a free agent.
I think he would be an upgrade over Cole Beasley for sure. I think he's a more dynamic, more physical, but he's a slot. So I mean that limits that big playability, like Mike was talking about to Mike Williams.
That's still an upgrade. An upgrade is an
absolutely.
upgrade.
Absolutely.
But go on. I want to hear everything you have to say.
Oh no, that's okay. I mean I'm a number one supporter of Herbert. I really, really love his game. I think he's got a cannon of an arm. I think he can run. I quite honestly, I think Staley even needs to unleash him a little bit more in terms of the running game. I think he still kind of puts the cap on him a little bit, but like look at him when he was at Oregon 2 years ago. I mean, he was a dual threat monster. He ran the crap out of the RPO and stuff. So I think I don't know. He's always, they need to also take that next step as a team to maybe steal the division from the Chiefs or sneak in as a wild card and stir up some noise going through the playoffs, kind of the Burrow effect that we're seeing this year. You know what I mean? They need to kind of take that jump. So I love Herbert. I love the odds on him. I would definitely throw $10 to win 140. That would, I wouldn't mind doing that at all. So that's kind of where my head's at.
Yeah, I'm on board with the Herbert thing. I mean, it's the same thing that you said. I think there's one missing spot there, one missing something, whether it's coaching, because it's something, because I watched that Chargers team literally fall apart in the last game of the year last year when it mattered and they needed to get in. And that was just like it was like mind blowing. It was like, wow, you have such young talent. And even Herbert didn't look the greatest in that last few game stretch there when it mattered. But, like, it is one missing piece. It really is one thing. And if it was an extra wide receiver to fill Mike Williams' spot, new OC, which is never going to happen because at this point that offense is squared away, it could be one little thing. And another thing, too, with the signing, if Mike Williams does leave, there are a ton of rumors that the Cowboys will cut Amari Cooper before the season starts to clear up some space, and that would be another great spot there. So, like, yeah, I mean, Allen's going to be my MVP betting favorite going into next year, but Herbert is, like, right there for me.
Yeah. So I've got a question because we all see Aaron Rodgers up there as a favorite. Mm-hmm. Where do you think he could go, or where do you think he'd wind up this season that would hurt his MVP odds?
If Adams isn't there, I mean that's the biggest thing.
Which team provides him the worst possible position to win MVP?
I would think.
What teams are we throwing in here is a better question.
I guess just every team that he's kind of rumored with, whether that's Pittsburgh, Denver, Tampa Bay. Who else has he been thrown around with?
I think those are primarily the three.
Yeah,
I
we'll throw in Green Bay as well. Of the four.
Right. I'm probably saying he'll have the worst odds in Pittsburgh just because I think they actually would have the worst offense surrounding him than all the other offenses. And I say that because the Broncos, I think, absolutely have a stacked receiving core, and we have not seen what they could do for the past 3-4 years, and it's upsetting. And they have two great running backs. The offensive line's not there, but that would probably be the worst thing. But with Pittsburgh, I feel like it's a little bit of everything. Like the running backs there, they got great receiving weapons. I think the OC is one of the worst I've ever seen in my life. And the offensive line is another terrible aspect of that team. So I don't know, man. I think Pittsburgh, he'd have the worst odds.
I got a text. I'll throw in a fifth team. It's probably the clear winner of this. But Taylor from the other room texted me the Jets.
The Jets.
I think the Jets are clear Super Bowl favorites if they get Aaron Rodgers. I'm gonna digress on speaking about Aaron Rodgers to the Jets.
Yeah, I think so. My pick is I think if he stays in Green Bay, it provides him the least optimal odds to win MVP. Mostly because I think he's capped with. I mean, he's won MVP there already with Devontae Adams. But I think if he goes somewhere else, if he goes to Pittsburgh and he has Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool and Najee, I think that's an upgrade. I think going to Denver with all the weapons that they have already is an upgrade. I think Tampa is an obvious upgrade. But I think the other three teams provide better options, more of a boost to his abilities as compared to where he's been and winning already. So not to say he would not win it in Green Bay, but to say I think if he goes elsewhere, it probably boosts to like 650 or 600.
I don't want to be hot takey here, but I think that Denver would actually hurt his chances of winning MVP. And that's personally, I personally feel this way. I'm not saying it has any real backbone to it or anything like that, but I think that Judy and Sutton are mid-tier wide receivers. I don't think that they are. I don't think they're the elite options that we think they are because they haven't had a quarterback before. I don't know. I don't see a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Not potential. Like I guess potential is the word I'm looking for. I don't see a lot of upside to them, I guess. And that's just personally like if he goes to Pittsburgh, he's getting paired with Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool, who have both proven that they are, top tier receiving assets. If he goes to Tampa, he's with Mike Evans, who is clearly one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Like, I just don't know if I can put as much faith in Jerry Jeudy, who hasn't played a full season yet, or in Cortland Sutton, who really hasn't impressed while being the only show in town. Like that's just personally where I am. I'm not disregarding I think Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon are both incredible. I think Noah Fant is a fantastic tight end. And I think they have a stellar defense, but I don't know. I just don't know if those receivers would help him in the way that, it might seem. Does that make sense?
Zach, I will just add in, you forgot to mention Troy Aikman's best receiver on the Broncos, Tim Patrick.
Tim Patrick, yes, sir.
Yes.
And the Penn State prodigy, KJ Hamler. He'll be back.
KJ Hamler. Yeah, dude, real quick, that was the funniest thing I've ever heard is Troy Aikman in the middle of a game just cut in after a Cortland Sutton drop and was like, yeah, Tim Patrick is the best receiver on this team by far. And who's to say he's not? I'm not even arguing that. It was just so funny coming from that standpoint. So sorry, I had to mention that. That brings me back, man.
I mean, who am I to not even mention Tim Patrick? Dang, I mean, like, come on. All right, I think the last thing we can end on here, since I guess I opened the lid on the hot takes. What's one bold prediction for next season? I didn't want to say give me your Super Bowl champ or anything because there's still so much offseason left to happen. All the free agency, all that good stuff. So give me one bold prediction for next season.
One bold prediction. I think I got a few, but
I'm going to start with both James Robinson and Travis Etienne in fantasy are solid starts week after week.
That's a good one.
Okay. I do like that one.
That's
now
a very good one.
I got to rethink mine. So go ahead, Zach. You got to give me a second here.
Oh shoot. I don't even know that I have one. I was expected to go third. Let me think.
Oh man.
Kyle, enlighten us on James Robinson and Etn in the meantime.
Well, James. All right, I'll just start off. James Robinson this past year, when he played, fantastic running back for fantasy. He was the guy. And I think Etn comes in, perfect complement. We're gonna see, what was it? Even just an AJ Dillon, Aaron Jones this past season, and the year before, compliments. You could probably start one and the other any given week, and I think that's kind of what we see this year. I think new coach comes to town, Doug Peterson. He's just like king of backfield committees. I hate that guy and how he handles backfields, but we're going to love it in Jacksonville. I have a feeling. But he's going to come in and be like, all right, we got two great guys. Let's use them both. And he's going to. Because why not?
Kyle, 1 to 10. How upset are you going to be? Week 1, Doug Peterson comes out there. Dare Agumbawali gets the first carry, and Laquan Treadwell comes in and gives him a breather in the backfield.
I think what I would hate more is if they sign like a Rashad Penny. And that's the guy that does it anyways. Similar to how
Penny's going to be a steal this year. Wherever he goes, someone is going to be
that was close to being my other hot take, that he's going to wind up in Tampa Bay and be the running back 1 and be pretty damn solid down there. So that's Kyle, 2 for me.
I came up. I have 2 also. Mike, don't feel pressured. One is great, but you actually mentioned a guy, and that spurred a thought in my mind. I believe that AJ Dillon is going to be a running back 1 this season, top 12 running back. That dude is a freak.
That. Love it.
He is. Even if they give Aaron Jones the receiving work, the third down, I think that we're going to see Dillon average 5-6 yards a carry. He's just a tank of a dude. So I love that. And my second one is going to be that Deshaun Watson is going to either go to Minnesota or Tampa Bay and is going to return to Pro Bowl All-Pro form this year.
He'll go to the Pro Bowl. They'll just keep him away from the female trainers, right?
Oh man, too soon.
Or he'll be
too soon.
All right, Kamara, and they'll wait to arrest him after the game.
Lots.
The NFL is so screwed up, man. But thank God we have it, really.
Yeah, and I'll segue that into my hot take for next year. My hot take is going to be Malik Willis will be what everybody thought Zach Wilson's hype was going to be.
Ooh, okay.
Zach Wilson came with a lot of hype. He had the sign-off from Tony Romo, I remember. Mm-hmm. Everybody was hype on him. And
Aaron Rodgers
that
too.
Hype. Say it again, I'm sorry.
I said Aaron Rodgers too. Aaron Rodgers was big on him.
Yeah. And I think all that hype should actually be going to Malik Willis, who I think will shine in his first year wherever he goes.
Where do you think he goes?
That was going to be my question.
He should go to the Jets.
Where do you want him to go?
Where do I want him to go? I want to see him go to Pittsburgh. I want to see it so bad. Like I feel like he would just shine there. But like Pittsburgh, more than anything, they'll never be successful with that OC. They need a new OC before anything happens. So, I mean, maybe Malik Willis coming in would give him like the Greg Roman effect, where Lamar came into Baltimore and Greg Roman was like, okay, I have to do something different. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, Greg Roman couldn't do the iPro offense, but he figured out Lamar's offense, So I would hope something like that happens to him. So, like, Pittsburgh would be a great spot. The Jets would make sense. I mean, I don't know. You could probably list another 4 or 5 teams that he would probably start on right now.
All right, Mike got me on one last question. Kyle, we go for one more?
I'm here all night.
And Mike, give me another one now since you said Willis. Give me one player in the draft and one place that you want to see him go. You guys need a sec? I can start.
So that's a little tricky. One, because I haven't done as much research as I've wanted to.
Of course.
Two, I'm going to give you an answer. I want to see Dallas go ahead and cut Amari Cooper, and I want to see them go after Treylon Burks, wide receiver, Arkansas. I think that guy is going to be the number one receiver coming out of the draft, and he won't be drafted as such. And I'm excited for him. I want to see him go to a high-powered offense and just do his thing, man. That guy is a big receiver. He's fast as hell. I'm really excited about him.
That's a good pick. I've seen nothing but good things about Burks so far, and people are saying he's undervalued. He's coming out of like a non-potent offense, so it's like people are a little shaky on him. But I love that pick, and this receiver class is phenomenal this year. It really, really is. I guess I'm gonna speak on a wide receiver too, but first, Kenny Pickett should have won the Heisman. Kenny Pickett should have won the Heisman. And I hope he goes to the Steelers. That's just my plug. I think it's the perfect narrative. But I'm actually going to talk about another Pennsylvania player. I'm going to talk about Johan Dotson, and he's actually a late first round grade right now. And I love him landing on either the Green Bay Packers or the Kansas City Chiefs. I think if he manages to get himself on either one of those offenses, he is going to be that Jamar Chase-esque player that we are talking about next year. He doesn't have the size of Chase, but he is probably going to be somewhere in the ballpark of a Stephon Diggs. Just route runner, just like crisp catch, run after the catch, just incredible at everything. He just lacks the size. So I really, really am excited to see where Dotson ends up this year. And I think sidebar, I think Jameson Williams is going to be a steal, whoever gets him. They're just going to have to wait a year for the ACL.
Yep. Let's hear it, Kyle.
I don't know enough. I haven't done any rookie research yet. All I'm hoping for is that the Lions get somebody good at both pick 2 and 32. That's all I'm hoping for.
That's understandable. I think I can respect that one.
I like that.
I think at 2 they're going to go defense.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I think at 32 they're going to go best available. And I think honestly they could be in play for Burks or for Jameson Williams or for Dotson or one of those second tier receivers behind like Olave and Garrett Wilson and some of those bigger names that are going to go ahead of them. So
that's if they don't sign or trade for Calvin Ridley. But
exactly. I've seen them linked. I've seen a couple things where maybe they'll get cute and trade and end up drafting a quarterback actually if they slide. So we could see. I don't know. Maybe something will happen. So
would not mind that. Jared Goff is not good.
Jared Goff, man.
Agree. 2 thumbs up. All right. So we're coming in right under an hour here. So I guess I'll ask you guys. You guys have any last things that you want to wrap up with?
Not really, man. Just keep in touch with us. We'll have some content coming out the next few months. We're going to be bored over here, so we're going to be full-minded fantasy for a long time here, just laying low, and the time will come eventually.
Probably talk some USFL soon.
Ooh, okay.
To get our football fix.
I just can't get enough of watching Jeff Fisher coach. I don't know about you guys.
Can't get enough.
Nothing gets me going.
Nothing gives you a 9-7 season more than Jeff Fisher.
All right. I guess we'll stick a fork in it there. As always, you guys can follow us on the socials up the top. If you guys are going to play any underdog, they got some NBA contests. Hopefully, if we ever get MLB, maybe we'll see some MLB contests on there too. But anytime you guys sign up, you guys can use the code FIRSTSEED, and they'll give you a nice little bonus when you make your first deposit. So I think that's a good place for us to end it right there, fellas. So
I agree.
For Kyle and Mike, this is Zach. This is First Seed Sports. We're checking out, guys. See you.